He found out while he was sleeping in the middle of the night that his cellmate was lubricating his body with smoked oyster oil and doing some weird stuff on the bottom bunk. Man, this is the story. You ain't gonna want to miss this. Welcome to the Pen and The Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube, where in this video, we're gonna uncover a horror story that's so terrifying that if you would have found yourself in the same situation, you might not have made it out the same way that this dude did. So I was working in the kitchen when I first got to prison at David Wade Correctional Center. I was 19 years old. And if you know anything about working in a prison kitchen, you know that there's this thing that they call the storm, the calm before the storm. It's that part of the day where inmates who work the kitchen actually have a chance to relax before they have to start preparing for the next meal. The previous meal is already completely cleaned up. All the dishes are washed. All the tables are wiped. Floors are mopped. Most of the kitchen workers are back in the dorm taking a nap or taking some kind of recreation before the next meal is served. Well, during this particular time, some inmates stay back on shifts because there's always a couple inmates that need to stay in the kitchen. Well, it's during this time where inmates get to have a cup of coffee and smoke a cigarette and have discussions and talk. And this is where I'm sitting down in the kitchen having a cup of coffee, talking to this dude who at this time had already been incarcerated for like 20 something years. And he was sharing with me a story because I was what you would call a fresh fish. I was a youngster. I didn't have any prison experience. This was my first time in prison, and this was my first time on an adult prison yard. And this dude used to hit me up with some absurd, crazy, scary stories about stuff that he had seen, witnessed, or heard in prison. And this particular day, when he told me this story, I was completely shell-shocked. I didn't even want my coffee no more because it smelled like smoked oyster oil. Anyway, let's get into the story. Welcome to the cell block, where a young kid finds himself in a cell with Bobo Man. That's right, a little young kid, fresh fish like myself, found himself in a cell with Bobo Man. And if you know anything about Bobo Man was what you would call a cake bandit. And you know exactly what I'm talking about when I say a cake bandit. So Bobo Man is in the cell, and they put this little young dude who's a fresh fish in the cell with Bobo Man. Well, Bobo Man is what you would call a convict. He's slick. He doesn't show his cards right away. He gives you a smile and acts like, you know what I mean, you and him are about to be best friends. And he acts like he's going to be your savior, and he's going to be the one to protect you whenever you get where you're going to be in the cell with him. So he tells this little young dude, he says, say, bruh, you know what I mean? What's your name? They introduce pleasantries, you know? And anytime a dude like Bobo Man wants to introduce pleasantries to you, the best thing you could do is bat him in his mouth so you and him don't have to live in a cell together. Because Bobo Man looked like everything they said he would look like. You know what I mean? He looked like the boogeyman, not Bobo Man. This was the real life person that you did not want to meet in your cell when you ran into a one-on-one cell. So this poor little dude's in there, and Bobo Man tells him, he says, say, youngster, you gonna be in this cell with me. I'm gonna look out for you. Don't be trusting none of these dudes. A lot of these dudes are cake bandits. And the little youngster's like, cake bandits? What you mean? He said, yeah, these dudes is cake bandits. And me, I ain't no cake bandit. I like to look out for the young dudes, you know? And the little dude, he's like, all right, so, you know what I mean? You gonna be good with me? And Bobo Man's like, I'm gonna be good with you, bro. I'm gonna make sure that you survive this here jail, man. You got a mama? And the little dude's like, yeah, I got a mom. He's like, when you get on the phone, you call your mom and tell her you in the cell with Bobo Man. And Bobo Man ain't gonna let nothing happen to you. Well, the little dude calls his mom and says, Mom, I'm blessed. Guess who I wound up in the cell with? His mom says, like, who you in the cell with, son? Ain't nobody trying to harm you or take your cakes, huh? He's like, no, Mom, I'm in the cell with Bobo Man. His mama dropped the phone because his mama knows one thing. Bobo Man is a cake bandit. So his mom picks the phone back up and she says, son, I'm going to send you some money. I'm going to send you some money. And every week I'm going to send you money. And every week you make sure Bobo Man gets his money. You know what I mean? And he said, I don't understand. And so, in prison, you only get so many minutes on the phone. He's talking to his mom, and, he's a little young dude, and he's excited to say, hey, Mom, I'm in the cell with Bobo Man. He gonna look out for me. Well, his mama, she's peeping game more than he's peeping game. And all of a sudden, she's telling him, I'm going to send you some money this week. And the phone goes, you are talking to an inmate at a correctional facility. You have 1 minute remaining. And she's like, son, I love you so much. I love you. Please be safe. Please tell Bobo Man that I'm sending you some money. Tell Bobo Man I'm sending a letter too. He'll be able to check the letter out. Tell Bobo Man I said thank you for protecting you. Please be careful in that cell with Bobo Man. Mom, 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 mom. And see, in the back in the cell, Bobo Man's ear hustling. He got his ear to the cell. And see, the phone's all the way at the front of the tier. You can only get one person on the phone at the time when you're in the cell block. And Bobo Man's ear hustling. He got his ears pushed to that cell. He's listening to the whole thing. You know what I mean? And he hears the little dude on the phone, his new cellie. Mom, mom, mom. And Bobo Man's like, I'm going to take good care of this here boy. And so when the dude comes back to the cell, he tells Bobo Man, he says, say, Bobo Man, my mom said she's sending me some money and she's sending you some money too. And she's really glad that I'm going to be in a cell with you and you're going to look out for me. And Bobo Man's like, He said, you tell your mama next time you talk to her. He said, in fact, why don't you let me get your mama's number and I'm going to call and let mama know I'm going to take care of you. Anyway, you can't use the phone whenever you want in no cell block. It's whenever it's time to get up on there, them guards let you get up on there. So you got to wait your turn. It might be a week, sometimes longer than that before you get that phone again. So that letter comes in the mail with that money order. In the letter, she got a letter for her son. She says, just the regular stuff. But in the letter, she says, there's also a letter for Bobo Man. Hand this letter to Bobo Man. Well, Bobo Man gets the letter and he reads the letter and it says, Dear Mr. Bobo Man. He says, this is Eileen. And I want to let you know that my son is the boy who's in the cell with you. He's a good boy, and I don't want anything to happen to him while he's in prison. He doesn't have a very long stay. He only has 5 years to do, and I'm hoping that he can only do half of those years, Mr. Bobo Man. Can you please take this as a peace offering and gratification? I am going to include every single week that you take care of my son. I'm going to include $40, and then signed, Eileen. Thank you. Eternally grateful. And Bobo Man's like, You know what I mean? Bobo Man been doing this. Bobo Man plays the game. So word gets on the compound and everybody knows that the new little fresh fish, is with Bobo Man and underneath Bobo Man's wing. So now nobody ain't trying to play the little dude to take his canteen or take nothing from him. You know what I mean? Because, Bobo Man got word on the compound in the block, and they call it the bliggity. So in the bliggity, Bobo Man got everybody, he knows, so ain't nobody gonna mess with the little dude. Anyway, the first canteen sheet day comes by and then, you get the canteen sheet and Bobo Man, done spit game to the little dude. And he told the little dude, go on, fill that store sheet out, boy. He said, I'm going to make sure once you feel what you need, get what you need. See, Bobo Man wants you to get what you need, son. That's what you is to me, a son. You put what you need on that sheet. Make sure you get your toiletries, get that clean soap. And look, hold up, don't get that deodorant. I want you to get that secret deodorant. And if you know anything about prison, they sell secret deodorant on store sheet. That's a female deodorant, but a lot of them dudes be wearing it. But the dude wants to put that he wants to put that gel on there, but that secret, that's that powder. And Bobo Man tells him, son, I want you to smell right. You order that secret. You wear that, son. That other stuff ain't gonna work. It can make our cells smell bad. So Bobo Man, look out for you, boy. And the dude fills his store sheet out. And when he's finished, that's when Bobo Man said, once you fill what you need out, you give it to me. And Bobo Man gonna add what he want on that sheet. And the dude hands Bobo Man the sheet. And you gotta think the whole time I'm listening to this story, I'm sitting there sipping this coffee, talking to this old time in the kitchen. And he got me like a real storyteller. I'm like, man, who want to go back to the dorm and watch Young and the Restless when I'm hearing about stories in the 70s in the cell block? And he's like, so the story continues. And he's like, so Bobo Man gets that store sheet. One thing that Louisiana prison sell and is really popular and one of a delicacy, a gourmet food on the store sheet is smoked oysters. That's right. You know, in Louisiana, we like our seafood. Well, they sell smoked oysters on the Canteen sheet. So Bobo Man, you know, he puts him a couple soups on there. You know, he gets him a couple toiletries, gets him some toothpaste, some toothbrush. You know, he gets a Snickers bar here, a Snickers bar there, some honey buns. But every single store sheet, and this goes on for weeks, Bobo Man orders one thing of smoked oysters. He gets a thing of smoked oysters. And if you know anything about smoked oysters, it's said, and I remember hearing this all throughout my incarceration in prison, that if you eat smoked oysters, it'll make you do this. That's right. They said it'll make you stand up like a Roman soldier. And so dudes like to eat them smoked oysters because it's considered a aphrodisiac. So a lot of dudes order smoked oysters off the Canteen list so that when they get home and during their incarceration stay, they can stay competent and potent. So when they get home, they still able to operate in, you know what I mean, that field. So they eat them smoked oysters, thinking them smoked oysters are going to help them out to, you know, maintain that potency. So anyway, Bobo Man gets one thing of smoked oysters every week. He's eating these smoked oysters in the cell once a week. Well, the little dude asked Bobo Man one day, he's like, what do those taste like? And Bobo Man like said, Bobo Man say, son, you can't have no smoked oysters. Ain't good for you. Only man like Bobo Man. He used to tap his chest, dude, say, Bobo Man said only one could have these is Bobo Man. And other men's like Bobo Man. You hear me, son? You still too young. A smoked oyster will mess you up. And so the little dude writes his mom the letter. And he says, Bobo Man's eating smoked oysters in my cell. And he said that I can't have no smoked oysters because they're going to mess me up. Is there any reason, Mom, why Bobo Man told me I can't have no smoked oysters? Well, he gets the next letter coming in. And his mom says, please tell Bobo Man to call me. Please tell Bobo Man to call me. And so the little dude, when the phone day comes up, the little dude lets Bobo Man have his phone time. And Bobo Man goes up to the cell and he calls, ring, ring, ring. And his mom answered the phone. This is a collect call from Bobo Man. And his mom's heart's just going boom, 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 boom. Her mind's going Bobo Man, Bobo Man. But her heart's going boom, boom. Her mind's going Bobo Man. Her heart's going boom, boom. Her mind's going Bobo Man. She knows one thing. If that man eating smoked oysters and telling her son he can't eat no smoked oysters, she knows what's coming next. So she gets on the phone. She says, Mr. Bobo Man, this is Eileen. Please, I know I've been sending my son the money and he's putting it on your books and he's ordering stuff for you. But can I get your DOC number? I want to start putting money directly into your account and I'm going to increase that pay. And Bobo Man said, I sure do appreciate that, Miss Eileen. I got your pictures underneath my bunk from when that you sent your son. Underneath Bobo Man's bunk is the pictures that she sent to herself, to her son, and they use toothpaste as glue. They toothpaste the bottom of it all underneath the rack. You know, underneath the bunk, when the bottom bunk, where the top bunk is the bottom, Bobo Man sleeping down there, and he looking up right in Eileen's grill. You know what I mean? And he told the little dude, he said, look, put your pictures right here. Anytime you want to look at your mama, you can come right here on Bobo Man bed and look up. Anyway, so she starts putting money on Bobo Man's book. Well, things is escalating, and they escalating quick because Bobo Man is a convict. And convicts, they hatch plans long before they come to fruition. And Bobo Man been on this plan. Anyway, so I'm sitting there sipping my coffee. And I say, bro, why Bobo Man was playing the little dude like that? I'm asking the dude like that in the kitchen now. And the dude looks at me like this. Look, he says, say something you gonna learn, youngster, up in this prison. He said, all dudes ain't built the same. All dudes don't operate the same. Some men, they do their own thing and they are operating on their own field, their own plane, so to speak. He said, Bobo Man's that type of dude. You know what I mean? He said, but I'm telling you something. If you ever wind up in a cell with somebody like Bobo Man, you either don't go in that cell or you get off right away. I said, for real, huh? He said, yeah. And the dude I'm talking to, he from New Orleans. And if you know anything about David Wade Correctional Center, ain't barely a lot of dudes from New Orleans. There's only a handful of dudes from New Orleans. It's mostly Shreveport, Monroe. You know what I mean? Sipping my coffee. So this is my round. He put me on my game. And he put me on my game because he seen me fight another dude who whipped me, but I had heart and I fought a really big dude that dude whipped my butt. And I almost hit another dude in the head with a paddle. And he saw that too. So, he knew I was about my business. So he was trying to help me out. And he said, say, youngster, when you wind up in a cell block, and you will wind up in a cell block, don't go in no cell with no dude like Bobo Man. I'm like, bet, real. That's true. Anyway, so the little dude's sleeping in a cell, and one day he wakes up in the middle of the night around 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 or 2 in the morning, and he smells them smoked oysters. Now, see, Bobo Man done increased the order count on the canteen sheet on smoked oysters. Now he's ordering 2 or 3 cans per store day, and he's now eating smoked oysters in the middle of the night. It's 2 a.m. He could hear that can pop, pop, and all of a sudden that aroma fills the cell. Smoked oysters. You could hear Bobo Man down there chomping. And he starts grunting and making squealy little noises. And the dude said the bed starts shaking a little bit. And he's like, man, what's going on? So the little dude's up there and he's being real quiet. And this happens every single night. And he could smell smoked oysters. And probably about an hour after he smells the smoked oysters and the beds quit rocking and moving like this, you know what I mean? He could hear the toilet flush. And then Bobo Man's in the sink cleaning the can that the smoked oyster was in. One day, he is laying underneath his bunk and he's acting like he's sleeping, and he opens his eyes when Bobo Man's finished doing what Bobo Man's doing, and the whole cell is smelling like smoked oysters. And he looks and he says he sees Bobo Man stark, you know what, no clothes on right there, and he's oiled up. Bobo Man had oiled up his entire body in oyster oil, and now he's cleaning and washing himself off in the toilet. And Bobo Man gets startled and looks, and the dude shuts his eye, and Bobo Man is looking. See, Bobo Man is a convict. He's playing these mental games, and this little dude's up there scared to death because he got a dude sleeping below him who's wearing his brogans. That's right, he was wearing his brogans. Dude told me Bobo Man was completely stark except his brogans on. He had his brogan boots on, and he had smoked oyster oil rubbed all over his top of his head all the way down to the ankles of his feet, you know what I mean, where his brogans were. And he was down in that bed, you can only imagine, fiddling with himself in that bottom rack. And the dude was like, he starts calling his mom and writing his mom, and his mom's panicking. At this point, his mom realizes that Bobo Man is a big time threat. So she writes him a letter. And she says, son, you need to get out of that cell with Bobo Man. You know what I mean? And he says, Mom, I can't. You can't tell nobody. You can't tell nobody. I don't want nobody to know, Mom. Bobo Man he ain't never done me nothing yet. Not yet. Bobo Man is a patient man, and he's building up his anticipation on what he's going to do to this little dude, because he got pictures of the dude's mom underneath the bottom rack, staring him in the face while he's underneath the bottom rack, oiled up in oyster oil, smoked oyster oil. So anyway, one night it's thundering and lightning outside. And this is when Bobo Man figured out, I'm just going to go all the way out. Bobo Man, thunder, lightning. He opens up 3 cans of smoked oysters in one night. And you got to think it's been months and months building up to this. And Bobo Man had a lot of smoked oysters, so he done built up a lot of pressure, a lot of rage, and every day and every night Bobo Man see Miss Eileen stand down at him. And Bobo Man's ready to do what Bobo Man needs to do. So that night when it's thundering and lightning outside, and the whole block, the whole bliggity's on what's going on. They know what's going on. The dude about to get took. And the thunder, the lightning, everything just lining up for Bobo Man. And Bobo Man put them boots on. It's thunder and it's lightning. He's oiled up with 3 cans of smoked oysters. And they said when that thunder lit up and that dude heard the toilet flush, he thought he was going to see what he always saw. Bobo Man's back turned to him and he was cleaning off after the shaking in the bed. But there wasn't no shaking in no bed that night. Just thunder and lightning and an eerie calm. And he said when that thunder lit up, the whole dome lit up. The whole bliggity block. And right there in his face was Bobo Man, oiled up, cake dripping, cake and face dripping in and smoked oyster oil. And he said all you see was Bobo Man cheesed up like this. And the dude was like, ah! They said Bobo Man looked like Half Dead on Penitentiary. Go look up Half Dead from Penitentiary. That's what they said Bobo Man looked like. And I'm like, what happened? What happened, bro? He took the dude, man. I put my coffee down, man. That smelled like oyster oil, man. What he did to the dude? He said, youngster. He said, about that time, the whole dorm, the lights came on. You know what I mean? His mom was at home sleeping, and she just had a bad feeling. She called the jail and said, go check on my son. I think he might be going to hurt himself. And they came back there, and when them white folks looked in the cell, they seen Bobo Man wearing his brogans. You heard me? I said, he was wearing his brogans. He said, say, bro, Bobo Man had them brogans on. He was earled up with all them Oysters. And he said, say, bro, Bobo Man was looking at the dude in the face, and he was cheesed up like Half Dead, man, from Penitentiary. I said, what he did? He said, man, them people rushed up in there and snatched Bobo Man up there, stalk, nothing on except them brogans. They were slipping and sliding and fighting. He said, but little dude didn't get taken because his mama was on some stuff that she understood in her gut, that her son was in trouble at night, and she saved him. Bobo Man ain't getting no more checks. Dude got transferred to another camp. And I'm like, dang, that's the type of stuff that was happening in prison back in the 80s. He said, say, youngster. He said it was wild up in these prisons. You know what I mean? He said, man, it ain't that wild no more. It wasn't that wild. I got more crazy stories to tell you. Welcome to the Pen and The Shank, the most unusual and unique crime and prison channel experience on YouTube. You just heard the story of Bobo Man. Give me a like and subscribe. Let's get this channel rocking, man. Bah, Bobo Man.